Hey everybody, and welcome to the No DQ live recap of Friday Night SmackDown for February 7th, 2020. We had some matches set up for the upcoming WWE Super Showdown pay-per-view, which will take place in Saudi Arabia as the road to WrestleMania continues. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. Thank you to everyone watching, whether it's live or on demand. I appreciate your viewership as always. Let's go ahead and get started. We kicked off SmackDown with a Goldberg video package, and we had a couple of Goldberg video packages throughout the show to hype up his big appearance. We had the introduction for SmackDown with the pyro and all that, and then we had The Miz, the Chick Magnet himself, and John Morrison come out for the return of the Dirt Sheet. They had their intro complete with Howard Finkel doing the voiceover. I'm guessing that's from the original Dirt Sheet intro back in the day. They had a video package air, which was just a bunch of clips of The Miz and the Morrison going around places, backstage area, apparently some set somewhere, I'm not sure, some movie set. You had Lance Storm making a cameo during the video. You had John Laurinaitis making a cameo as well. And you also had Mr. Miz making a cameo in the video. When the video was over, they got a bit of a pop, and Morrison said that it's funny how the fans were booing them, but all of a sudden started cheering for them. We had the New Day come out. They were eating popcorn, and they were joking about Mr. Miz being in the Dirt Sheet video. And then we had the Usos come out. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Usos talked about how Miz and Morrison have never been the Usos. And this led to Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode, or Robert Roode, coming in and attacking the New Day. After the commercial break, we had the Usos up against Dolph Ziggler, and Bobby Roode. We had a couple of super kicks from the Usos. Jay went for this frog splash. Ziggler got his knees up. However, there was a kick out. Usos came back, hit the double super kick to Roode, and then did the big splash from the top to pick up the victory over Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. Match was fine, went on a little bit long. You guys know me if you've been watching these reviews long enough. I'm not a fan of when one group of people are on a quarter of the show, and the first 30 minutes of the show we had the Usos. They were in the opening promo segment, and then they had this match which went at least one commercial break, maybe two, but by the time it was all over, it was already a half hour into SmackDown. I like the Usos, but we really don't need them on TV this much, especially when there are plenty of guys that are struggling to get TV time, period. We had Alexa Bliss backstage with Nikki Cross talking about the Fatal 4-Way match, which the announcers kept bringing up was going to be the main event of SmackDown. And I was just wondering, well, wait a minute. Surely Goldberg is going to be closing the show with all this hype for Goldberg, his first appearance on SmackDown. I'm not even sure when the last time he appeared on SmackDown, and they were showing all these video packages. I'm like, okay, they're doing the women's match. Goldberg's going to close the show, so I guess it doesn't matter what match they put on last. Just felt like this women's match was thrown together. Alexa Bliss was talking with Nikki Cross, talked about how she beat Bayley in San Jose, which is where SmackDown was this evening, and said she has something twisted up her sleeve. We had a recap of Baron Corbin and what happened last week on SmackDown where he was eating dog food. Corbin went into the production truck and he wanted to find out who played that clip. Too bad it wasn't Kevin Dunn. I would have given this segment an A if Kevin Dunn was the guy that appeared on camera and got beat up by Baron Corbin. But no, wasn't Baron Corbin that attacked. It wasn't Kevin Dunn being attacked by Baron Corbin. It was just some random guy that Corbin grabbed and threw him out of the truck, threw him down a bunch of steps, and then Adam Pearce had to show up and tell Corbin that he has, in fact, gone too far. Back in the ring, we had Elias. He jammed on the guitar for a while, got a big pop. Talked about how he has a match with Cesaro, and he wants to sing a song before the match. So he asked San Jose who has his back. He was about to start singing his song when he got interrupted by Cesaro and Sami Zayn. Zayn said, "How does it feel to be interrupted? Does it feel too good, does it?" And Elias said, "Hey, have you even been watching the show the past 2 months? Because it's a miracle when Elias doesn't get interrupted by somebody." Sami Zayn said that Elias is going to pay at the hands of Cesaro for making a joke about Nakamura losing the championship and so forth. This led to a match. Sami Zayn got on the apron and was mocking Elias during the match. Elias got thrown to the outside and Sami doing his usual shenanigans. However, it was not enough to combat Elias. Elias picked up the win with the flying elbow over a very game Cesaro. And Mike D with a $2 super chat, thank you for that. He says, "How come Sami Zayn doesn't wrestle anymore?" Maybe WWE just doesn't feel like there's anything that they can do with him at this point other than have him talk. And Sami Zayn is a heel. I mean, that's the thing. He's only going to be able to go so far. At least as a babyface, Sami Zayn had that underdog gimmick that he could do. But now that you got guys like Ricochet and other people doing that, Sami Zayn turned heel. And Zayn's biggest strength now is just running his mouth and running from people. So that's kind of the character that Sami Zayn has turned into, where he's basically just a mouthpiece, which is fine. Sami Zayn does a great job at it, but I think part of it is just due to him being a heel, and you really can't make Sami Zayn like this dominant monster heel or anything. So, if he's the cowardly heel, it's going to be like The Miz, where The Miz, after a while, wasn't doing much as far as wrestling went because basically he was just a talker. That's what he was brought in to do. And in Sami Zayn's case, the guy can go, but I suppose WWE feels that his biggest strength right now is to be a mouthpiece and take bumps for the other guys. We had Baron Corbin come out, and he was upset about the dog food incident. He was wearing his crown. He said he will not be silenced, and he made fun of the 49ers losing the Super Bowl, which got a lot of heat, of course. Not as bad as when The Rock made fun of Sacramento, or when Elias made that joke about, what was it? The Seahawks, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember, but I think it was in Washington and Seattle. But yeah, wasn't quite as much heat as those segments, but did get some boos for this. And, it was the Supersonics. Thank you for that, kayfabe candy. Yeah, so it was basketball, not football. Hopefully I'm right with that. Supersonics, basketball, right? Don't get upset if I'm wrong about that, because I know nothing about sports. But anyways, moving on here. We had Corbin demand one more match with the big dog, Roman Reigns. And I'm just thinking to myself, why? We already saw Roman beat Baron Corbin, King Corbin, at the Royal Rumble. Beat him again on SmackDown. Did the dog food angle. Nice wrap up to the storyline. Very good. It's over. We can move on. But nope. Corbin dumped some water on a fan, and this led to Roman Reigns coming out, beating up Corbin. Corbin fled the scene, ran to the back, and then Roman Reigns got on the mic and agreed to one more match. But it's going to be under his terms, and it's going to be a steel cage match, which will take place at Super Showdown. Boy, oh boy. Yet another Roman Reigns, Baron Corbin match. Steel cage match to settle the feud that Roman has already won. Don't get it. It's time filler. That's what it is. It's just something for Roman to do until the build for WrestleMania starts. They just got to drag this out a little bit longer. Pretty lame. The game is on 100 with a $5 super chat. Thank you very much for that. He says, so we will get another Reigns and Corbin match for Blood Money 5. I guess that's the 5th Saudi Arabia pay-per-view. I think you're right. And a steel cage. Well done, WWE. Well done, being sarcastic. In case you didn't realize, the game is on 100 was being sarcastic. JSpin401 says it should be a steel cage dog pen match. There you go. They should just overbook it totally. They should have it be a dog collar strap cage match with fire surrounding the ring. Then maybe I'd be interested in seeing it. Then we had Goldberg. So this wasn't closing the show. Goldberg appeared, but it wasn't even in front of the live crowd. It was via satellite. Lame. Now, I'll explain why I think this was the case. Anyways, Goldberg said he watched the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, and that gave him the itch again. I guess nothing else before that, like Survivor Series, gave him the itch. It was the Royal Rumble that gave Goldberg the itch to wrestle again. And he said that, Brock Lesnar's busy with Ricochet and Drew McIntyre, but what about the Universal title? Goldberg said he never got his rematch for the title. And how about it? Bray Wyatt. Pretty much immediately, Bray Wyatt interrupted with a new edition of the Firefly Funhouse. He had all the graphics ready. He had the picture of Goldberg. So, man, Bray Wyatt works some magic, people. He got this video editing down like faster than anybody I've ever seen in the history of mankind. Wow, that is some real magic that Bray Wyatt is working with coming up with this Firefly Funhouse segment so quickly after Goldberg challenged him for the match. As Tic Tat Tat says, Bray Wyatt knows the future. So Bray did his little breaking news interruption and said that The Fiend does accept, and they had a little weather report with Mercy the Buzzard saying it will be a cold day in hell before he loses the title, The Fiend, that is. And then Goldberg responded by saying, breaking news is that The Fiend is next. And then Bray ended the segment by saying that Goldberg is being mean and all you have to do is let him in. Then he did the whole waving goodbye, and that was the end of the segment. So my theory on this, and I could be wrong, I'm just guessing here, but my gut feeling is that WWE probably felt that Goldberg would be unable to be on sync with the Bray Wyatt Firefly Funhouse taped segment live in the ring. Goldberg would probably mess it up or something and not be able to respond to Bray in a timely manner on cue. I feel that's why this was done the way it was, with Goldberg doing it via satellite, so it could be pre-taped and it could be synced correctly with Goldberg responding when Bray is done talking and all that stuff. I mean, that's the only logical reason that I could think. Not having Goldberg in front of the crowd, I thought was a bit lackluster and anticlimactic. But that's just my opinion on it. I think this could have been done a lot better. Now, let's see what you guys thought about this. Mike B with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Mike B. He says, the scroll across Bray's Firefly Funhouse news said, Rambling Rabbit dead at 2? Poor Rambling Rabbit, RIP again. I didn't even catch that, so I'll have to go back and watch it now because you brought that up. But yeah, Rambling Rabbit, he's pretty much the Eric Cartman of WWE, dying every episode. And that's one of the highlights. But still, I was so focused on Goldberg that I wasn't even paying attention to that, to be totally honest with you. Mike D, not Mike B, but Mike D with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. He says, is there actually a chance Goldberg beats Bray Wyatt and goes against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania? For some reason, I don't see Goldberg losing this match. I don't think we're going to see Goldberg at WrestleMania. I think that this is a payday for Goldberg and something to make the officials in Saudi Arabia happy. I'm sure there'll be smoke and mirrors, and I did mention this earlier this week on the other live streams. I think this is a good match for Goldberg because he can hit the spear on Bray, 2 count. Bray gets up. Bray puts on the mandible claw or hits Sister Abigail. Goldberg kicks out. Goldberg hits the jackhammer, kick out. They could do the smoke and mirrors and, have a 3-minute match with just, 6 or 7 moves and that's it. So I suspect Goldberg will lose and he'll be added to the victim count. Goldberg beating Bray, I think, would be a huge mistake. There's no good reason for that to happen. And Bray Wyatt versus Roman Reigns is a much better match. And I know some of you might feel that that's an unpopular opinion, but that to me, that's a more appealing match than Goldberg versus Roman Reigns at this stage of the game. Bray and Roman seems to be the match to do. So that's what I think is going to happen. Anything can happen in WWE, though, as they say. But, I'm putting my money on Bray to retain. DJ Whitey with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, DJ. He says, man, Goldberg needs to call it a career. Seriously. After the cringe match with Undertaker, he has no damn business in a wrestling ring or any kind of ring. If the people in Saudi Arabia want Goldberg, then they get Goldberg. And I think that, again, because it's a match that you can use smoke and mirrors, I'm fine with it. Who really cares? It's Saudi Arabia. Let them do their thing. Let Goldberg come out there. It'll be a nice 3 minutes of entertainment. So I'm like whatever at this point. Thank you for the super chat, though. And Harold Warren with a $10 super chat. Thank you very much for that, Harold. I appreciate it. He says, I have a gut feeling that Bray Wyatt will get buried. See, I don't think so. I don't think WWE is going to screw up Bray. You got to look at the big picture. WrestleMania, Roman Reigns in the main event. Yeah, it could be Roman versus Goldberg. They did do a little tease, but I don't know. I don't think WWE is going to drop the title from Bray Wyatt. I really don't. And I don't think Roman should be beating Bray either. Like, there's no reason for Bray to lose the title anytime soon. You want to get as much as you can out of his reign. Let him beat Goldberg. Let him beat Roman Reigns. Let him go through every top guy, and eventually he can face Undertaker. Like, I still think they should build up to that for Survivor Series. Undertaker's 30-year anniversary, Undertaker versus The Fiend for the WWE title. That's what I would do. But again, maybe I'm just going by what I feel is the right way to go, and anything can happen. So if Bray loses, I would not be shocked. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but stranger things have happened. We have seen some pretty bizarre decision-making in WWE over the years. And then Ken terminated by Google with an interesting theory here, sending in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Ken. He says, do you think Goldberg will win by DQ? He says, I don't think Goldberg would want Wyatt to beat him clean. Rift, keep in mind, Bill does have a huge ego, man. Well, about that, I think at this stage of the game, Goldberg is happy to collect a big paycheck, I think for years, one of Goldberg's issues was his pay. Like, he wanted top dollar. And I think maybe WWE didn't feel he was worth that top dollar, and that's why Goldberg left in 2004. But now it's a different era, and WWE had the money to pay Goldberg, and He's a nostalgia act. He's a special attraction. The folks in Saudi Arabia, they love the legends. So they see Goldberg. They see this big muscular guy who was a huge star back in the day, and that nostalgia kicks in. So it's like, hey, $2 million or whatever it is for one match. I think Goldberg will do whatever WWE asks. I think he's cool with collecting that big payday. And of course, he's got his son. So his son's going to see him go out there and compete and do his thing. So yeah. Mike B with another $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Mike B. Says, someone tweeted the Rambling Rabbit thing. I find Titans tweet it to you. I'll find Titans tweet it to you. Thank you for that, Mike B. I do appreciate it. And thank you again for the super chat. All right, we've talked enough about Goldberg for one live stream, I think. Let's go ahead and move on here. We had Heath Slater, who hasn't been on television in quite some time, talking with Daniel Bryan. Heath Slater suggested that maybe Goldberg should talk to Daniel Bryan because we've seen what's happened to Daniel Bryan and The Miz and all that. Bryan then suggested a match with Heath Slater. We had the match between Heath and Bryan. Before the match, there was a quick Rumble recap of Bryan losing to The Fiend. Bryan was a bit more aggressive in this match. The announcers were pointing that out. Bryan, of course, picking up a quick victory over Slater with the LeBell Lock. So what's going on here? Is Daniel Bryan possibly turning heel again? Are they planting the seeds for something with him? Or is he just going to have a bit of an edge until WWE figures out what to do with him next? Feels like Bryan has no storyline direction, and this was just done to rehab Bryan after that loss to The Fiend at the Rumble. Have him come out looking really strong with a decisive victory. I think that's all it was. I don't think they're going to turn him heel again. I mean, that would be pretty silly. That would be going into Big Show territory, turning him back and forth all the time. Then we had Renee Young interview Braun Strowman in the ring. Strowman said that the Intercontinental Championship is the greatest achievement of his career. 20 years ago, that would have been impressive. But now I'm like, that's pretty sad, dude. If this is your biggest accomplishment, the IC title, you ain't doing too well. But nonetheless, he was very happy to hold a singles title. This led to Sami Zayn coming back out with Shinsuke Nakamura. Shin wanted a rematch, but Sami said not just wanting a rematch, he was demanding a rematch. Strowman said the rematch can happen any place, anytime. Let's go. Sami Zayn said it ain't going to happen in San Jose. Pretty usual stuff here. Like, we're going to do the match, but not tonight. Typical heel stuff here. Zayn said that they are going to use their resources, and that's what led to the Revival coming out and attacking Braun Strowman. Strowman, of course, fighting them off because the Revival, they're scrubs, and they're apparently leaving the company soon. So Strowman beat those guys up. Sami Zayn ran in the ring. Strowman ran after him, and then Shin came in with the Kinshasa and laid out Strowman. I don't care about the rematch. We all know that Shin doesn't stand a chance against Strowman. If you do 4-on-1, Shin probably can't even beat him. So it's like, what's the point? This is just time filler. And Nelson pointed out that 20 years ago, China was the IC champion. So, wow, that was 20 years ago, guys. That's crazy. Okay, 30 years ago, if Strowman said winning the IC title was the greatest accomplishment of his career, that would have been saying something. How about that? 30 years ago. No, I kid, though. Even 20 years ago, it was somewhat important, you know. Jericho had it, Benoit had it, Angle had it. It was still the workhorse title back then. So it wasn't totally watered down just yet. We had a video package with Otis, who was preparing for his upcoming date with Mandy Rose. That will be taking place on next week's SmackDown. We had this video package where they were in the gym. Otis was lifting weights to prepare for his date. And then they were at dinner. They were learning proper dinner etiquette. Otis wanted to use his hands to eat the steak, but Tucker was like, you got to use your fork and knife. Otis tried to get himself situated, and that's when he accidentally knocked the table over. Tucker said, don't worry, cheer up. You're going to be ready for the date next week. This was pretty entertaining. I thought it was funny. Maybe the highlight of the show, honestly. And Mike B with the $2 super chat says, didn't mean to put Titans. Sorry for the typo. No worry about that, Mike B. I was wondering when I was reading that, like, if I was reading it correctly because I'm half blind here. But thank you again, Mike B. And Ken Terminated by Google with a $5 super chat says, do you care if the old Shin comes back as a face, or do you feel indifferent? The Rockstar character only appears when Shin was a face. Hashtag still a great talent. I mean, you could turn him back face. You could turn Sami Zayn back to a baby face. You could definitely do that. I think Shin is better as a baby face. As a heel, he fell pretty flat. And I feel like he's almost like Sami Zayn, kind of like an underdog type character. So yeah, I mean, neither guy is doing much of anything these days, and same thing can be said for Cesaro, and they're all just thrown together, and they're basically there to just put over the bigger stars. I mean, that's what they're doing at this point, and it is what it is. I wouldn't mind seeing those guys go back to NXT and mixing it up with those guys. I mean, that would be probably more interesting than what they're doing right now, at least. Dylan Hensley with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Dylan. He says, hey, Aaron, I did not watch SmackDown. I haven't in years. I just wanted to say that I'll be going to the AEW show live next Wednesday in Austin. AEW better than WWE. Well, there you go. I hope you have a great time in Austin, Texas for next week's AEW. Should be a hot crowd, Dylan. And please give me a recap of the show. I'm curious to know what you think about it, seeing it in person and whatnot. Moving on to SmackDown, the semi-main event. We had Sheamus up against Apollo Crews, who got no entrance, and it was a squash. It was pretty much 15 seconds, and it was over. Sheamus with the bro kick, and then afterwards, Shorty G came out, and he got taken out with a bro kick as well. I feel like they should build up Sheamus for Braun Strowman at this point. Strowman needs somebody credible to face, so maybe that's the direction for WrestleMania. Braun Strowman versus Sheamus for the Intercontinental title. Because again, it just feels like Sheamus is not really doing much of anything. Strowman's the IC champion in a feud that nobody's really invested in. So I feel like they're just saving it for WrestleMania, as Michael Wayne puts it. And then we had our main event of the evening, Alexa Bliss versus Carmella versus Dana Brooke versus Naomi. Naomi was the only one to get an entrance, and I figured Naomi was winning this. I thought that this was just done as a formality, so Naomi could actually earn her championship match against Bayley. But again, WWE might be saving this until WrestleMania. So what happened was, Bayley was at ringside. Naomi was dominating the match. Bayley then held up the championship belt in front of Naomi's face on the outside of the ring. Naomi shoved her down, and this actually got boos from the crowd because, keep in mind, this show was in San Jose, which is Bayley's hometown. Crowd booed this, and then Bayley attacked Naomi and threw her into the steps. No DQ because it was a fatal four-way match. When we came back from the break, Alexa Bliss hit the Twisted Bliss, or attempted to, and Naomi countered and hit the rear view, was on the verge of winning the match when all of a sudden Carmella came in with not one, but 2 super kicks and pinned Naomi. So out of nowhere, Carmella is now your number 1 contender for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And then Bayley immediately attacked her after the match and left her laying. And that was the end of SmackDown. I guess Naomi's being saved for WrestleMania, and I'm curious to see when they're doing this match, because I saw a graphic on Twitter that said it's going to be at Super Showdown, the women's title match. But correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I don't believe WWE said anything during SmackDown, during the broadcast, that this women's title match, Bayley versus Carmella now, is going to be at Super Showdown. Again, let me know if I'm wrong on that, but I don't think they said Super Showdown specifically during the show. Mike D with a $5 super chat says, how come the announcers don't mention CM Punk's name backstage anymore when he's going to be on the upcoming WWE Backstage? They did it at first. Well, they did it probably thinking that it was going to bump the number up really high, and then it did bump the number, I think, the first week he was on, and then, I think the sporadic appearances have made people not care, and, people have already lost interest in backstage, so it's like, whatever, CM Punk's not really moving the numbers, so why bother advertising him when he's not really committed to coming back? And maybe WWE was hoping that CM Punk being on backstage would open the door for him to return, but now that he's showing no interest in coming back, they're like, well, we're not going to promote this guy. He doesn't want to come back, then screw him. So good question there. I think WWE's already dropped the ball on backstage. CM Punk should be on every week. Like, if he was on every week, I'd be invested, but they only have him on once a month, it seems. And on top of that, they're doing all these basketball delays, and 11 o'clock is pretty late. So by the time 11 o'clock comes around, I'm done. And when I see the basketball game on, I'm like, no, I'm not watching this crap. I'm done. But thank you for the super chat, Mike D. I do appreciate it. And Mo Camera has arrived. Mo Camera with a $2.79 super chat says, they are booking The Fiend strong to feed to Roman. I really hope that's not the case, Mo Camera, and I will be on your side of the fence. If Roman Reigns beats The Fiend at WrestleMania, I'm going to be pretty upset. So I will be right alongside you, voicing my frustrations if Roman Reigns beats The Fiend. Fiend should not be losing the title for another 6 months at least. Like I said, set up The Fiend for The Undertaker at Survivor Series and build up some guys. You could do an interpromotional match at some point. Maybe for the draft, you can move Aleister Black over to SmackDown, have him feud with The Fiend. You could let The Fiend go through everybody. Fiend should be a long-term champion. He's the best gimmick WWE's come up with in several years, and let it run its course. Don't end The Fiend's reign too soon. And Mr. Dark Fantasy with a $2 super chat says, when will No DQ be sponsored by Fruity Skittles? I'm not a fan of Skittles, so probably never. I know that's a reference to Jim Ross. Fruity, delicious, Skittles. But no, I'm not a Skittles fan, so ain't gonna happen, sucker. All right, so let's do the letter grade for SmackDown. But before I get to that, Mike D with a $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Mike D. He says, should Undertaker beat him for the title at Survivor Series? I would prefer to see somebody else beat The Fiend, but I think Undertaker should lose on his final match just to pass the torch. But it would be kind of cool if The Undertaker retired as the WWE champion. Like, I would not be opposed to it, but I think the best way to go would be for somebody to beat The Fiend who's an up-and-comer. somebody who's on the rise. Overall, I thought SmackDown was average. Not a blowaway show by any means. A lot of filler. Super Showdown feels like a filler pay-per-view. And realistically it is. It's just, it's done because WWE has the deal with Saudi Arabia and it's for a lot of money. But I don't think WWE is going to throw too many curveballs in their WrestleMania plans. So I'm giving it a C. I did enjoy a few things on the show. Dirt Sheet was pretty entertaining. The Otis video package was entertaining. But yeah, not a whole lot that got me excited. So yeah, C average. CC Drink with a B+, J-Spin 401 with a B, Nelson Moreno with a C+, Cleaver Colin Andrew with a B-, Mayor of Peepsville with a C, The Game Is On 100 with a C, Michael Wayne with a C+, Bruce Marvel with a D, Kev Dog with a C+, and Curtis Butler says NA fell asleep. Matt Helms with a C+, and the People's Wrestling Channel with a B+ as well. So that was SmackDown, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please share a link to this video on social media. Tell a friend. Anybody you know who watches wrestling, have them check out this video. The word of mouth really goes a long way. Any way you can help spread the word would be very much appreciated. And timeout, guys. DJ Whitey with a $20 super chat. Thank you so much, DJ. He says, do you intend on watching the re-debut of the XFL? I forgot about that, so I'm going to address that right now. He says, how do you think it'll do? It's getting a lot of hype, more than the first go-around. And what do you think of the timing of it being just a week after the Super Bowl? Well, now that I think about it, I did see that commercial during SmackDown for the XFL game. I will watch it. I will give it a shot. I'm probably not going to watch it beyond one game. I think it's going to be very similar to the original XFL with maybe a few tweaks here and there. I think they'll do a decent number for their first show. I think there will be the curiosity factor, much like there was for the initial run of the XFL. I think people are going to be like, well, maybe it'll be better this time. Let's see if they change things up and they make it better. So I think the first number will be pretty good. I don't think it's going to be as good as the first XFL game from 2001, but I think it'll be decent. And then after that, I suspect it's going to be very similar to the first XFL run where the numbers are just going to decline rapidly. I think it's wise to do it after the NFL because there are people that want football year-round, and this is their opportunity to watch more football, although it's not top-tier football, but we'll see. Sometimes you only get one shot to impress, so there's a lot of pressure. They'll have to put on a really great show, I think, to maintain any kind of an audience. So we'll see. I am intrigued. So I will check out the first game, and I guess on Monday for the live recap of Raw, I'll also talk about XFL. But anyways, thank you so much for the Super Chat, DJ. I really do appreciate it. And thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding the pay-per-views. We got Super Showdown. We got AEW Revolution. We got NXT TakeOver Portland. Predictions are coming up next week. It's going to be very eventful. A lot going on. NoDQ.com for all the latest. And follow me at Aaron Rift on all social media platforms. I'll see you guys next time.